If the American people want the truth, they definitely should not pick up the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal.
When even Murdoch's own media manipulation network turns on you, you know it's bad.
Especially these days, in the midst of this incredibly successful military operation against Iran, it's almost like these legacy American media outlets were rooting for the Iranian regime over the American people, over our great United States military, because they are so rooted in their opposition to President Trump, rather than seeking and reporting on the facts.
The Wall Street Journal editorial board, not a guest columnist, the editorial board of the newspaper, owned and controlled by Rupert Murdoch, who's single-handedly responsible for Fox News, the echo chamber, the modern Republican Party. Well, the editorial board just said this about the fact that Virginia voters decided to redistrict their maps to now allow for more Democrat House seats in order to counter the redistricting that Texas started many months ago when Trump called them to do it. They said that Trump is responsible for this, quote, gerrymander race to the bottom. Well, welcome to Trump world, Murdoch. We are all in a race to the bottom, thanks to Trump. Have you checked out our economy lately? Have you checked out our foreign policy lately? They then go on to say, in very stark terms, again, this is not a liberal newspaper owned by Rupert Murdoch, said that President Trump can be blamed for starting the rolling rock that has now come down on their heads. And deservedly so, because Trump thought he could rig our democracy. That because he has the Texas governors and Florida governors in their pocket, that for whatever reason, the GOP across the board, Congress and states, spineless, willing to do anything their cult leader Trump wants, that all he had to do was get Texas, this state of a large population, to just redraw their maps, to just give him the seats because he knew he was going to lose in the midterms. He knew because everything he's doing is not helping the American people, but in fact, hurting the American people, and his unfavorability is going up. And instead of changing and pivoting and addressing the American issues, he just wanted to cheat his way out of losing at the midterms.
Virginia Governor Abigail Spanberger celebrating the win in yesterday's redistricting vote, voters narrowly approving a new pro-Democrat congressional map in a controversial referendum that critics have slammed as a, quote, power grab. The outcome threatens the already very tight Republican House majority. Mark Meredith is live in Alexandria, Virginia, with more on this. And Mark, that vote ended up pretty narrow.
Bill, it sure did a lot narrower than some people were expecting, and Virginia voters showed up in huge numbers to determine Tuesday's redistricting referendum. This morning, Democrats are celebrating the outcome, saying they're putting a check on President Trump's power, but Republicans say this is simply proof that Virginia has lost its way. More than 3 million people cast their ballot in what you said was a narrowly defined race. However, voters chose to give the legislature power to redraw congressional maps before November's midterms. The new map is expected to take Republicans down from 5 congressional districts to 1. We heard from the chair of the National Republican Congressional Committee, who wrote, Democrats can't redraw reality. This close margin reinforces that Virginia is a purple state that shouldn't be represented by a severe partisan gerrymander. Democrats say they felt emboldened to act after Republicans in Texas redistricted too. Governor Abigail Spanberger and former President Obama, they were the ones leading the effort in the Commonwealth. We heard from the former President Obama saying Republicans are trying to tilt the midterm elections in their favor, but they haven't done it yet. Thanks for showing us what it looks like to stand up for our democracy and fight back. So Tuesday's outcome means, yes, that Democrats have a better shot now at taking the House come November, but other states are still weighing whether to redraw their maps. As Politico points out, pressure is now growing on Florida Governor Ron DeSantis to make up for Democrats' gains with a GOP-led redistricting effort in his state as soon as next week. And while voters decided here in Virginia, there is another X factor in all this, Bill. The Virginia State Supreme Court is still deciding whether or not this will all be able to stand. There were multiple challenges to this redistricting referendum, including how the language on the ballot was written, and we're waiting to see what the court may decide next. Bill.
And depending on how they rule, all eyes will be on the state of Florida, as you mentioned.
What do you make of Republicans saying that Virginia you guys getting
Democrats
getting
wow.
It's totally unconstitutional and wrong.
Democrats have attempted and asked Republicans for 10 years to ban partisan gerrymandering. And for 10 years, Republicans have said no. Republicans have fought for partisan gerrymanders across the United States of America, and these are the rules that they have set. And so if the Republican Party wanted to start this, they did this in North Carolina. They drew out 3 Democratic members of Congress in North Carolina. They drew out in Texas. They redid Texas. What they're just mad at is that they have been accustomed to a Democratic Party that rolls over, doesn't fight, and takes everything sitting down. And what they're mad at right now is that we are here in a new day. And we have been asking the Democratic Party to stand up and fight. And now they did. And now the Republican Party doesn't like the fact that they are fighting against someone who actually will stand up for the American people. So if Republicans decide that they would like to revisit a ban on partisan gerrymandering, I welcome them. We have the bill right here to end this all today, but they don't want to because they like pursuing and continuing to enact an unfair electoral landscape. And so we have an obligation to defend ourselves. Thank you. What were you talking about?
And as a result, California decided to put forward to their voters a redistricting map, which overwhelmingly passed. And then Virginia decided to do the same and put it forward to their voters to redistrict their map, which passed. Of course, now it's being contested in court, and that's going to wind up through the courts in Virginia. But in the meantime, the Murdoch-owned Wall Street Journal calling out the fact that none of this had to happen, that this race to the bottom for Republicans, which will ultimately in itself make them lose seats in the House. Never mind, they will be losing seats, I am sure, just because of the bad policies of Trump. This race to the bottom, the rock landing on the head of the Republicans because Trump pushed this rock down. A stunning rebuke by this Republican creator of the modern Republican Party.
On Texas, how many more seats do you want the Republicans to draw?
5.
And then what if California, New York, Illinois, and other blue states decide to do
okay
this?
too, but 5. I think we get 5. And there could be some other states. We're going to get another 3 or 4 or 5 in addition. Texas would be the biggest one. And
So
that'll be 5.
are you calling then for a complete redrawing of the congressional map ahead of next year?
Just a very simple redrawing. We pick up 5 seats.
And
But
where in
we
Texas?
have a couple of other states where we'll pick up seats also.
What's going to happen if we lose these elections, the House, and in this case the House, and it's going to be a disaster. If they do this, they're guaranteed to pick up a lot of seats. And everybody knows it's unjust, including them.
But now she wants to redistrict. And currently, there are 5 Republican congressional areas and 6 Democrats hold the position. So it's pretty much even, 5 and 6. But now, according to Youngkin, he says that she wants to give Democrats 10 of the state's 11 congressional seats if she redistricts.
Yeah, it's a legitimate swing state, at least all the other states where there has been this showdown, whether you're talking about Texas or California. Neither one of those states are swing states. There is genuine either control from the Democrats in California or the Republicans in Texas. She promised she wasn't going to do this, but she changed her mind.
Well, I mean, you could go back and say, well, President Trump started it because in Texas, he tried to flip most of their seats. And then when it's going back and forth, California got involved.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to add the MeidasTouch podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts for new updates every single day.